All right, so this is my take on repairing this igniter, at least until I can find another one. I thought I had found another one. My parts book said a 4 and a 6 horse take the same igniter. There was an early and a late version, 14, 15, and then 16, 17 was the late version. Well, the body from this flange, sealing ring, whatever you want to call it, down on the 4 horse was only like 1.5 inches. This is like 2.5, so it sticks into the combustion chamber a lot deeper. And I feel that, you know, I don't know, on a 6 horse, whether there's more water around the combustion chamber or what, but definitely that 4 horse was not going to work. So yesterday I chucked it up here in the lathe and spun the ears off and got down to where it's, well, not 100%. I couldn't take all the damage out of it because I was going to lose these holes, and that's what anchors the spring for the igniter. So I took it down as far as I dared, and then I cut this flange out of 5/8 plate, and this is just some scrap I had that actually came off that bulldozer that I cut up. So then I set it up in the Bridgeport, bored this hole. I had a cutter for my magnetic drill press that got me up to 2-inch. So got that plug out of there, then bored this ID to size, which fits over this, and then milled a step, which you can see the step there. Milled the step, so that will, and that I made pretty tight, so that will go down over the igniter body. And you kind of have to drive it down on there. It's a good tight fit, but the one thing I'm gonna have to be careful with is the relationship between the igniter body and the head obviously was controlled by the ears of the flange. Well, now I've made those out of 2 separate pieces, so the angle of rotation is going to have to be right in order for it to trip correctly. So I don't know, that's going to be trial and error. I kind of marked it, but I couldn't find a good point to index off from. So I can get it close by sight. I took some good pictures. That'll get me close, and then I guess I can fine tune it if I have to. So under this igniter, there's a copper washer that seals it. So as long as I pull this flange down evenly, I think it'll work all right. I'm headed out to Canandaigua this year. Again, if the weather cooperates, maybe I can find something out there. Been able to not be able to find anything with all these guys that buy and sell engines and parts and so on and so forth. So we'll just keep looking, but in the interim, I think this will work. It's not ideal, but it'll work. So that's the main thing, get this engine up and get it running. So who knows how long it's been since it's run. The engine is still stuck, but it's dry stuck. I mean, it was never, the critters didn't get into it and urinate in there and freeze everything up solid. They were obviously running it on kerosene or really rich. The cylinder's packed right full of carbon, which is, I think, how the ears got broken off this igniter. People just try to wedge it out with a screwdriver or chisel, ended up snapping the ears off. So almost everything on this engine, somebody had done that too. So I did, but very carefully had to do it to get the head off and the exhaust cage out of the bottom of it. But that's before I realized that International did put jacking screws. There's 2 threaded holes that you can thread bolts into and try to jack the valve cage out of the cylinder, basically. Which I didn't know about because it was so packed up with grease and carbon and everything else. So now I know. I am going to pull the intake valve cage out because that's all free. But I obviously going to try to clean up the valves and clean up the valve seats. So I don't know. We're moving forward, slow but sure. The engine is still stuck. I have done some welding. I got the exhaust cage all welded up. Then I chucked that up in the lathe and turned a new surface for the gasket. This engine still had the original copper laminated gaskets in it, copper, asbestos copper. Those pretty much are ruined by the time we got it apart. Of course, we didn't know about the jacking screws then. There were no jacking screws on the head. There's a fairly big repair that's going to have to be done to the bottom of the head. It's broke all the way around here. Maybe you can see the line, but obviously when I get into the head repair, I'll take some better pictures. But I did order some Ni-55 nickel rod for TIG welder. I am going to try to TIG it with nickel, but again, it's going to require to be exceptionally clean, and we're definitely going to have to do a preheat and a post-heat. So all the things I had in my mind to fix the exhaust cage, we're definitely going to have to do, because the exhaust cage repair fought me. I tried everything, and I think it was just because it was dirty. I had very, poor results. I tried nickel wire, then I tried aluminum bronze, so you use that on AC because it has a cleaning action. That didn't work so well, so I went back to DCEN and run silicon bronze, and again, I think it was just dirty. It was plain old dirty. So definitely going to have to fire this head to try and get it as clean as possible, and then preheat, post-heat. So, because it's a fairly big repair right on the bottom. Of course, that's where the water would have sat. This is the bottom of the bottom stud in the end of the cylinder for this hole is right on the center line. So water would have hung in this part and in the exhaust cage if it wasn't fully drained, and both of them show to be frozen and then cracked. So luckily, thank God, we had both pieces. So I mean, in an ideal world, probably should send it out and have it pinned, but I don't know. I'm impatient. You want to wait 6 months for some guy to finish it and then charge me all sorts of money. It got enough in the engine as it sits. Nobody knew, at least I didn't know, about the igniter damage. It would have been obvious if I really checked, but I was blinded just because it was a Mogul and I had an opportunity to be the first one in line. So, I kind of went into it closed-minded that I was going to take it anyway. So maybe I could have done a little better on price if we knew about some of this other damage, but that's the chance you take. When you buy an engine from another collector that's had the engine running, most of the big issues have been solved, and if you buy and run an engine, generally it'll hold water, and the igniter and the magneto, all that stuff's up to par. Yes, you're going to pay a premium dollar, but this actually was pulled out of what looked to be a wagon repair shop. This was in the center of the building, probably ran a line shaft. Then there was a kind of a small blacksmith shop, forge and some tools and stuff. And then on the other side was woodworking shop. So I think they repaired wagons and carriages and stuff. So it's kind of neat that, you know the backstory of where this was pulled out of. They don't know how long the engine was there, whether the owners had bought the engine new or, put it in there at a later date. This is a 1916 engine, actually first engine built in 1916. And who knows? Could have been there since 1916. Or came in obviously at a later time. So we're moving forward. The engine is still stuck, but I'm not pushing getting it unstuck. Everybody's got their ideas on how to unstick the engine. Packing it full of grease, putting the heat to it. I am just gonna be patient. I know if you get too pushy with some of these methods, you're going to end up breaking stuff, and God knows there's enough broken stuff on it already. So anyway, that's where we're at this point. I continue to add a little bit of coil to the piston and cylinder every day, and hopefully it'll soften up. And hopefully we can get it unstuck without doing any damage, and then I will pull a piston rod and go in and run a hone down through the cylinder. Not sure whether the rings are pinned in this piston or not, but obviously if they are not, you're going to want to make sure the rings go back in their same location. So rings may be stuck. I mean, who knows what I'm going to find when I get the piston out of there. But